So, bro, why'd you write this book?
Yeah.
What's your story, man?
When I think about this book, I think about, first and foremost, I think about years of friendship that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about spending time on a missions base. I think about spending time in the local church and just seeing so many young but also old men who are really looking for significance, and they're looking for a sense of identity, and really just seeing the need and being burdened for it.
Yeah.
And realizing that, there's a lot of things out there that are helping men step into areas of breakthrough, but there's not one thing giving the language for all of it at once.
Dang.
And wanting to see that, come to pass, and be really in a reproducible form to be able to hand to somebody, whether
Yeah.
they're in, Chicago or they're in India,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got men that they're walking with, and young men and old men, and calling them into that same wholehearted spirit that Joshua and Caleb, led with. For me personally too, I think that, the journey, I think, my story, but I spent, 11 years in ministry, I think before I found out who I was as a son. And I think that even ministry, our stories are different, but I think
100%.
even ministry for me, ministry was my title and it was my identity. And when it got stripped from me, I didn't know who I was.
Dang.
And so I spent a season where the Lord had to crush some things out of me and really show me if he's enough.
And what did that look like?
Yeah, I think for me, it looked like me going on a journey of finding a sense of joy, peace, and rest when I wasn't on a stage, when I wasn't leading, when I wasn't doing ministry, when I wasn't working a job. I had to find peace just from being a son, just from being loved by God. And, and I think we kind of live in this culture, it well too, where, what you do is really where you find your significance, and it's just like we've missed it though, because that's not where we find our significance. And the love of Jesus and his presence has to be good enough for us to really have victory at all and be wholehearted in any sense. So many men, young and old, who have spent seasons of life everywhere they go, they don't even know it, but they're living out of this internal need to feel like they're enough. When actually, Jesus says we are enough.
Yeah.
He answers those two questions. We know John Eldredge, it's the two questions every man is longing to hear. It's am I enough? Do I have what it takes? And am I loved? And from that place, some people, it takes them 15 years to get that. Some men are in their 50s and 60s and they've never felt that from God.
Yeah.
And even Jesus needed to have those questions answered at his baptism. He goes to get baptized, and the Father speaks with a dove that descends, and he answers those exact same two questions before he starts any of his ministry.
So good.
And so all we know of him is that he was a son of God, and also Jesus, the incarnate, Christ. But we know that he didn't do anything that we know of ministry-wise until he heard those two questions answered.
Wow.
You're loved. You have what it takes. And then the Lord does the same thing in the Mount of Transfiguration in the book of Matthew. And Elijah, shows up, and there's this interaction going on. And in front of the disciples, the Lord affirms Jesus again. And he says, you're enough and you're loved. You have what it takes and you're my son.
Yes.
And even Jesus needed those things answered. And I think a whole generation of men are really trying to pursue in their job and what they're doing and who they're around this sense of peace and rest that they're not going to find. And 100%. It comes in the Lord. And so we want to call men out of that. We want to call men into a place of sonship and then set them on fire to be wholehearted. Hebrews 12, it just says, therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off every weight and the sin that so easily entangles us, and let us run the race that's marked out for us.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys are running someone else's race, or they're trying to run a race that they want to run, but it's actually not the race that God intended them to run.
Yeah.
They're trying to become something, but they need to become like Jesus. They need to find the heart of God.
100%.
And from that place, he can reproduce his identity and who he is through them. But then he goes on to say, looking to Jesus, right? Looking to Jesus, the author, perfecter of our faith, who with the joy set before him endured the cross, despising its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such hostility from sinners, and the weariness and faint-heartedness and the struggles that you faced.
Yeah.
Consider him in that. And so I just think of that. I think of so many men who have a race they've been called to run, a purpose and a wholehearted pursuit of the Lord that they're called to carry, but they're being held up by one of these areas. They don't know who they are as a son.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are as a brother. And they're not surrounding themselves.
Yeah.
And then they really don't know who they are as a father. They really don't have spiritual fathers in their life.
So, bro, tell me a little bit more about why you burn for just fatherhood in general and being a father and then raising up other fathers as well.
We think that being a father, spiritual father, but also a father of kids, is like somehow attained when you have children or you're an older age. But what I've learned, I think, even in relationship with you, is that it's actually a place in our heart. I think God prepared Abraham, for years in the spirit before he actually gave him a son in the natural. And I think there's this preparation that God has for each of us of realizing who we are, and then the security that comes that other men are longing for.
Yeah.
So that you can walk around and there's this confidence in the love of God.
Yes.
That's really the phrase too, I think, of so many times, is this confidence in love that I know you carry so well. But when you have confidence in the love of God, you begin to father other people naturally.
Yeah.
You carry this heart of like, I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to care for you. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to go through things with you. And there's this security that comes.
100%.
It only comes when you know who you are.
Yeah.
And I think then with that, I would say a huge burden for me is I don't think men are really getting fathers in their life. And that could be a person in business who's a little bit further than you.
Yeah.
Could be if you're in ministry or Christian, it could be a spiritual father, someone in ministry and a ministry above you.
Yeah.
But someone who's further than you, who can look at you and tell you where you're wrong, that you're able to receive it. That's a whole story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Teachable, but you're also able to have them in your life really pushing you into this place again of encouragement.
Yeah.
And knowing who you are, and then being able to reproduce that, because it's a huge burden on our hearts. This is the most fatherless generation in history. And so like men need fathers.
100%.
And God's calling all of us to be fathers. Whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids.
Yeah.
And I don't think fatherhood comes at an age.
Yeah.
It comes at a place that you've gone to with the Lord, and you've known a sense of knowing and confidence in the love of God. And it releases security for those that are under your care, but also that you're walking with.
Yeah. That's so good, bro. I love that.
So Jared, tell me a little bit of like the why behind the what for you with the book. Like what's burning in your heart?
Yeah.
Why did we do this together? Why do we feel like we need to write a book? And what's going on in you with this?
Yeah. For me, just being vulnerable with pain that I've gone through, and even what kind of drives me a bit in regards to burden, and is my father wanted to abort me in the womb, and my biological father. And so my mom's a hero, heard my heartbeat in the doctor's office, and she's like, I can't do this. I'm going to keep him, all those things. And I think for me, hearing that story, obviously when I'm older, I didn't know about that until I was older. Having to walk through that level of abandonment, rejection and things like that is like, it's not easy. I wasn't like a comfortable Christian going to church every Sunday and just kind of going through the motions. It was kind of like I had to face this deep depravity of like, oh, I was not wanted at all. And that hurts at a deep level. And so for me, talking about orphanhood isn't like this like distant thing. It's like, no, I've touched every ounce of that at a very deep level of pain and brokenness. And so for me, it's like, I'm not just, let's just touch on orphanhood because it's a good thing. It's like, no, I was the orphan and I fully had to meet God. I met Jesus on my college campus. I woke up hungover from a night of partying, 22 years old. And I heard this voice. And he said, you call yourself a Christian, but you're not following me.
Come on.
And I got on my knees, room's spinning a bit. I'm waking up, all the things. I'm like, wait, what? This is different. And I, like I said, I was going to the club on Saturday night and trying to bring a girl from the club, to church on Sunday. I was so twisted in my living. God called me out on it. The Father looked at me and said, you're trying, but that's not real, and so I literally had a father hard encounter with my orphan, crisis in my own heart. And he delivered me from so much in that moment. And it was the start, right? It was a doorway of salvation for me. And I got on my face and just wept. And the Father just hugged me for like 30, 45 minutes in my, townhome in my college town. And that was the start for me of coming out of orphanhood. And then from that place, I really went after, if the Bible, the book of Acts is real, if the scriptures is calling me to live it out today, if it really is on earth as it is in heaven, if it really is pick up your cross and follow me, or you can't be my disciple, if it's sell your possessions, you can't be my disciple, if it's all these things, then I'm like, I'm all in. I've got to go all in.
Yep.
And I lost everything. I lost all my friends. My family I left my engineering career to follow Jesus to a place I didn't even know. But ended up on the news that year, ended up hosting a large gathering, ended up hosting smaller gatherings, things like that. And just like from this place of like, what would it look like for an entire college campus to be saved? Because I had met him.
Yeah.
I saw him face to face, and I'm like, what would it take for a generation to see him face to face like I did?
Yes, come on.
So I lost my friends in this moment. Like I said, in the town home, met Jesus face to face, weeping. I began to tell my friends about Jesus, and one by one, they all left. So that was my sonship moment, but now I'm going to talk about my brotherhood moment a bit. And I literally let my brothers that I've been playing basketball with for years, all my high school friends, and, still love them to death to this day. But genuinely, I think all of them got really tired of me because I'm like, bro, I'm at the pregame to the party and I'm like, bro, Jesus changed everything. No, I'm not sipping the beer anymore, but I want to be with you guys because he literally is real.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that he's real. And one by one, just started to not get invited. So there was this couple month season where I pretty much lost all my friends. But in that place, I found that he's enough. In that place of loneliness and deep isolation, literally doing my roommate's laundry because I was so bored and weeping at night because I'm just like, God, all I have is you. I literally have none of my friends are out, all of the things, but I can't go around those wells that don't satisfy. I have to stay with the well that never runs dry.
Come on.
And so for me, I'm like, I'm going to drink this. I'm going to drink this fully. I'm not going to go half in. That's why I burn for wholeheartedness so much, is because that was what I came out of. I left everything. I lost everything. But God's so faithful. A couple months later, he began to bring these guys from FCA around me that all played, college football or wrestled, things like that. And we started doing life together. And they came out of the party scene as well. And they burned for Jesus as well. And I'm like, oh, I have brothers that were staying up till like 1 a.m. playing racquetball, at the Virginia Tech Sports, center, all these things. And so that place, I left this place of loneliness and found brothers. One of the guys, his name's Darren, and he wrestled at Virginia Tech, the school that I went to. And he was this guy who I was so weirded out by. I had just gotten saved, right? But I'm meeting these guys who are following Jesus for a little bit longer than myself. And he's like, bro, let's get time together. Let's get dinner. I'll make you dinner. I'm like, make me dinner? Like, I've never had any guy ever make me dinner. So I remember him making these burgers, and literally the insides were not done right. So he cut them up into fours and like would turn them on the sides on the grill, things like that. And we're like eating dinner together. So awkward. But he saw my need for brotherhood.
That's right.
He saw my isolation and depravity, and he's like, I'm a little further in Christ, and I want to bring him along. So he pulled me into this place. He taught me how to fast. He would work out with me, and he taught me the scriptures. We went to a rock quarry, and him and I ended up walking. It was like maybe 5 of us going together, 5 of us brothers, and me and him walked ahead a little bit, on this railroad track. We're walking ahead, going to a rock quarry, and so he was just telling me about his level of consecration. And this is another burning piece for me for this book, is he was telling me about, he deleted every single woman's number in his phone outside of his family.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm so done. I'm done with, these lesser lovers. I'm after Jesus.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm wasting time on video games. I'm like getting rid of my video games. I'm done with it. And this guy was just all in, and he was calling everyone else out of their lukewarmness and into burning. And he was doing that for me.
Yeah.
And from this place, he's telling, that's the last conversation I had with him. You know, I'm 22 years old at the time. I've been saved for like 9 months or something. And he literally, we're in the rock quarry. It's probably 100 feet deep or whatever. And he's working out all the time, and his body just locks up in the very middle of the rock quarry. And all of us tried to save him from drowning. And I literally almost drowned with him. And we lost him that day, and he drowned in that moment. But for me, this book, you know, I look at brotherhood and I think about him.
Wow.
Like he taught me how to fast. He taught me how to pray. You know, he taught me what community looked like. He saw after me when I thought it was weird, and now I'm that brother.
Yeah.
That's seeing the guys on the fringe, and I'm like,
wow,
bro, come.
Yes.
Come join. But it's from that seed that he sowed into my life. And so,
Praise God.
for fatherhood, a lot of it for me has been, you know, my grandpa was probably the healthiest example of a father figure.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think about him, he's the guy where I played basketball, you know, a little, you know, all throughout high school and a little bit in college, and he's the guy that the practice was closed, and he's on the outside in this little square window, and you could just see his little face. He's 5'4". He's peeking his head through the glass window, and literally just trying to see me play.
Yeah.
And when there's hundreds of people in the stadium as we're playing, I could hear his voice over everybody else's voice. Let's go, Jay. You got this, Jay. He is the healthiest version of a father that I've ever experienced. Wow. And I look back at the investment that he made, because he knew that my biological father left. And he always called me the son that he never had, because he had four daughters. And so he really just took ownership of my life. And my stepdad, too, I think about him as he's a 20-something-year-old. And, you know, my mom had 3 kids before she met him, and he took ownership of me and my 2 other older siblings.
Yeah.
And what 20-year-old do you know today who's taking ownership of 3 kids that are not their own? Makes me want to weep thinking about that. Is he perfect? No.
Yeah.
Does he have a lot of things going on? Whatever. Yeah. But he took ownership. Right. And I think about that kind of father who would take ownership of responsibility and injustices that are not his own. Yeah. And today, for me, what that looks like for me is my wife and I have chosen to adopt a kid that, you know, for a time would have been on the streets, you know, in Hawaii. And my wife and I, you know, we fostered him for 9 months, and thought it was going to move towards adoption initially. And then later on, it basically... Mom got healthy off of drugs, things like that, and took him back for about 9 months. And we're thinking, you know, we're done, you know, in some ways. But the Lord had spoke to Emily in the very beginning and said, commit to this family for the long haul. That was like the initial word, and gave us a name for him in the beginning. But we weren't legally allowed to change his name. So we're in this place of like, I don't know what this is, but God's speaking something that's in the distance, trying to figure it out, but he's going back. Yeah. So he's not ours. Right. But yet there's something in the spirit that's saying that he is ours. Wow. And so meanwhile, he goes back, and then we get this text out of the blue on a weekend where his birth mom texts Emily and says, hey, I've been sober for a year, you know, doing super well, but there's something that I've been wanting to ask you and Jared. I wanted to ask if you guys would be willing to take him back and adopt him. And me and Emily just look at each other, and we're just like, just tears in our eyes. We're just like, wow. Like, what do we do? This is out of the blue. I mean, the journey was done in our heads. And then, so we sought counsel and, you know, all the things. And, you know, a week and like a day or two later, he's in our home. Yeah. And, you know, basically a baby dropped off on our doorstep in a way. And
he took responsibility.
Took responsibility of you know, of an orphan. Wow. And so from this place of working through orphanhood myself and then taking responsibility for, I literally will drive with him in my car. He's almost 2 now, the little buddy that we took in. And I'll see his dad on the streets. Wow. And I'll be able to, I'll talk to him sometimes and connect with him and see how he's doing. And he has, you know, he's homeless. Yeah. And I think that those are the things that I want to call him into. Come on. Because I don't see convenience in the gospel anywhere. I haven't found it yet. Yeah. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done. Yeah. And it sifted me thoroughly. It's been a mirror to my selfishness over and over again. Far from perfect, still broken in so many areas. But as I'm chasing after Jesus in these spaces, I just want to call men to the same. Yes. From an authentic broken place and pain, facing pain myself, I'm like, bro, you got pain in your life as well
Yeah.
that you haven't faced yet.
Yeah.
Stop limping. Let's
Yes.
deal with it. Let's be honest.
Come on.
That's the burden for me behind this book, genuinely,
Yeah.
is those places. And
Yes.
so
Come on, man.
it's real. It's from my life, and it's from our life, bro.
Come
So,
on. We don't look to think we've arrived yet. I
No.
think that's something that's really important.
Yeah.
That writing a book doesn't mean you think you made it or you have all the answers. We really want to call men into the journey. I think last thing
Yeah.
I would share is it's important to me to say is, I think combined total of like 15 years full-time ministry. In all of it, I've learned that I've never arrived.
100%.
All of it. And in the outline of the book, we talk about how at the top of the mountain, the pursuit of being all of these things, you kind of get to this place where you're like, you know what? I constantly have to go back, go through the fact that I need to remind myself who I am as a son.
Have to hear his
get
voice.
brothers in my life, hear his voice, become more like Christ, step into this identity as a father, and that you don't ever arrive. And there's this place of humility that God's calling us to. And so I honor you, bro. It's been such a privilege to write this and to just see what God does with it. I'm believing that God's going to change lives all over the world.
Yes.
And bless you guys.
Love you, bro.